Hey guys, welcome to Fighting Indoctrination TV. If you're here, please subscribe, click the notification bell, and share this video. Let's get started with this next episode. Let's talk about mindsets. I don't really think we really explore this idea of harmful mindsets within the community and also within the African American community at that. You know, in this episode, we're going to talk about harmful mindsets that are setting back the African American community. Now, me personally, I live in Baltimore, and Baltimore is one of the most dangerous cities to grow up in. It's one of the dangerous cities in America. You can go to Detroit, Chicago, St. Louis, Memphis, or Philly. Geographically, we are the smallest city with the highest murder rate per capita in America. Eventually, someone like me will eventually be killed. Children in this city will be killed because in reality, bullets have no names. Bullets have no beefs. But I think it runs deeper than the bullet itself. It's the mindsets behind the bullets. You see, a gun is nothing more than a piece of steel. It's a weapon that can either be used to defend or destroy. Now, you can't say guns are more dangerous than cars, because what ultimately matters is whose mindset caused this person to use that car or that weapon or to instantly kill someone. You see, it's all about mindset and the reality of what goes on in Baltimore and what goes on the streets of America. And I could tell you one thing. One of the most dangerous people is not the person holding the gun. It's not the person driving the car to run over people. It's the most dangerous person is the person who has nothing to lose. That's the most dangerous person in the world, because they are willing to destroy the people around them for their own selfish gain. See, the thing about self-centered people, or in this case, liars, is in this world, when it comes to a self-centered person and a person who has nothing to lose, liars are the worst type of people to have around you. And I can tell you, and I know from people that have interacted with people like that, there's nothing worse than a fucking liar. You know, I can respect a thief, but I can never I can never respect a liar. I can never respect a fucking liar. Because at least I can see why a thief steals. I can see why a person steals and why they might have a need to steal, you see. But a fucking liar, a liar lies for the sake of covering up their own faults. And a liar is someone who feels as though they're above reproach, so they'll try to hide behind some bullshit. They'll try to hide behind a falsity. These types of people, in the mindset that they have, they're duplicitous by nature. They cover up their own faults. You can trust the words coming out of their fucking mouth, but ultimately they are duplicitous by nature because they hate themselves and feel they can't bear themselves before the world, especially when they've done something extremely wrong. Sometimes they're above criticism and above any type of accountability. They live their life built on double-crossing people and turning one person against the other. Because at the end of the day, it's a mindset. I've had to deal with that in my life. I've had a circle of people around me that for years I've trusted. And for years I turned my back thinking that these people were trustworthy, but they turned out to be fucking liars. And they turned out to be duplicitous and double dealing in their intentions. Sometimes you allow people around you and then ultimately they stick a knife in your back just to fuck with you. Yet their whole life they did nothing but bum off of other people. And yet when they get their shit together, when you down, they think they could talk shit to you. These types of people, they're what you call Machiavellian. And what I mean by, when it comes to mindsets, a Machiavellian mindset, this person has the ability to have two different personalities when it was convenient to use them. Fake people know how to hide behind it so well because they have enablers. They have two enablers to protect them from their bullshit, even though they bum off of other people for a very long time. And because you know them so well and you have enablers that protect them, at the end of the day you realize the people that you hang with and the people that you surround yourself around, you are the total sum of the people that you hang with. And I think that's the thing that we forgot happens in Baltimore. Sometimes we hang out with bum ass niggas, and sometimes we hang out with bum ass people, and they think when they got their shit together and they on top, they think that, at the end of the day, oh, who are you? I don't know you. Fuck you mean, nigga? At the end of the day, you hang around these people and you're not like them. They don't respect you. They don't embrace you. They talk shit about you. But then at the end of the day, they want to make you look like the stupid one. And make you look like the fucking fool when you question them. And let me say that again. You are the total sum of the people you surround yourself with. If you hang out with bum ass motherfuckers, you gonna be a bum ass motherfucker too. And in Baltimore, there ain't nothing but bum ass motherfuckers bumming off of each other, taking shit from people, lying, thinking that they better than you, thinking that they could throw shit on you. You take them into your house, you feed them, you send them off to college, and what do? Oh, get defensive and act like a fucking pussy. And then sit back and act like when you down and when you ain't got your shit together, they look down on you. And then they talk shit about you. It's is what we call an invisible influence. And all of us in Baltimore have people around us that have an invisible hand pushing us to destruction and pushing us into destructive mindsets that lead nowhere but a fucking dead end. I've had people around me whom I thought were good people, but turned out to be unambitious and made somebody who was ambitious try to make them feel small and try to make them feel beneath themselves because they ain't where they are, or they're taking enough time, or they're taking time to build up something bigger than what the fuck they have in their house. We all got people like that around us, especially in a city like Baltimore. And the thing about Baltimore is there's nothing here but a bunch of fucking crab ass mentalities pulling one person down when they got their shit together. You know who the fuck I'm talking about. You know somebody in your neighborhood that done killed somebody, that done murdered somebody. You know who the fuck I'm talking about. It's the reality of things. Nobody ever wants to wake up and think they're going to die the next day. But see, I wake up every day knowing I'm about to die. knowing that my last day might be tomorrow. And that's the unfortunate reality of living in this fucking city. Is every day somebody fucking dies. And the reason why somebody fucking dies is because they got a bunch of fuck niggas around them. And sometimes you gotta take the path of least resistance, the rocky road, in order to save yourself from the destruction that might await you down that path. Some of my other friends, they didn't have that choice. Some of my friends had to have a circle of niggas around them to make them feel good. But ultimately, them same circle of niggas end up killing him. You feed them, you take care of them, you give them furniture out of your fucking house. And then what do? You ask them a simple fucking question. A simple fucking question. And they can't even be honest. They don't feel as though they owe you honesty. They don't feel like they owe you an apology. But they know where the fuck I live. They know where I live. That's the difference between a man and a pussy ass nigga. And that's the point about Baltimore. Baltimore, we are surrounded by pussy ass niggas. And you know a pussy ass nigga around your neighborhood. You know a pussy ass nigga in Baltimore. You know a pussy ass nigga from West Side and Emerson and all these other fucking cities that don't do nothing but sit around all day and kill something. Cause they mans dissed them. We got all these fucked up mindsets in our community, and it hasn't led to any fruition. It hasn't led to any type of continuity. Sort of just like, Black Lives Matter. If Black Lives Matter really mattered, then why do we keep killing each other in Baltimore? You ask me that. You can't keep using the same fucking excuse for your kids and for these punk ass motherfuckers in the city. Oh, they ain't got enough resources. They ain't got enough basketball courts. They don't have any enough rec centers. Same fucking excuse, same fucking talking points every fucking day from our elected officials. Every fucking day we live in this city, we just living to die. But of course, when it comes to Black Lives Matter, somebody shoot you in your own neighborhood. Oh, where's the protesters? Where's the fucking marches? Of course, silent crickets. As soon as cops come in your neighborhood and shoot one of your people, now you want to burn shit, you want to tear shit up, you want to do all these things. You want to call on these parishioners and NAACP. But then y'all the main ones and the same fucking ones in these projects and these public housing places causing the fucking destruction and making excuses all the fucking time. Ain't just in my circle, it's in everybody's circle. Grandma's making excuses for these bitch ass kids. doing all these shootings. Yeah, the grandmas and the single mothers in the city, they all making fucking excuses. And who has to deal with it? Who has to deal with it? Who has to pay for it? Other people. We're paying for the mistakes. I have to pay for the mistakes, even though I sit up here and, went to college, tried to do the right thing, and then ultimately had to end up back in the same fucking place that I started. Yeah. Yeah, it's fucked up. It's fucked up really bad. Because even in this situation, I have to make do with what I have. You know. If Black Lives really matter, then first start worrying about your life first. How about we treat each other with the same amount of fucking respect that you give the other person? You know, stop lying. Stop doing fuck shit. Stop being a fucking pussy. It's simple to, put the guns down, but you don't want to do that. Half of you don't want to do that. You think violence is the only answer to, simple situations. And simple situations could have been squashed a long time ago if people would just fucking sit down and talk to each other. Like men. Like I'm doing right now. Y'all want to talk about Black Lives Matter and shit like that, but when we call out the bullshit in our community, or when we change the narrative, then you got these young ass motherfuckers talking about it's not about black on black crime, it's not about all that, but it's your mindset that created this police brutality bullshit in our neighborhoods. If you wasn't shooting and killing each other in this city, the police wouldn't have to come. The police wouldn't have to corral you like they do. But I can't effectively put the whole onus of policing on police. Sometimes you gotta police yourself. And that means learning how to de-escalate things in a non-violent way. But no, y'all can't do that. That's why the fucking murder rate is climbing. Now, what do I mean by cognitive dissonance? We don't address the elephant in the fucking room. Not addressing the issue effectively is what leads to more chaos. And I learned about this a long time ago. What cognitive dissonance is. And what it means. Say if you're a smoker. And you smoke. And smoking leads to cancer. Now if smoking leads to fucking cancer, then why the fuck would you still smoke? You see? Cognitive dissonance. Your mind says you don't want to smoke, that smoking leads to cancer, but then your actions say a completely different issue. And that's what's so troubling about our community. We have an issue with cognitive dissonance. If you want the murders to stop in Baltimore and places like Chicago and Detroit and Philadelphia and New York City, then why not put the guns down? If you know the killing is getting out of hand. But see, we have a lack of accountability. We like to blame shit on outside forces. I think that's one of the biggest issues in our communities. We like to blame outside forces for the shit that we do to ourselves. And at the end of the day, you know, black folks are our own worst enemy because we don't want to address the elephant in the room. You know, black folks in America and in the city of Baltimore have cognitive dissonance because they know that the ratchetness and the degeneracy that permeates our culture is what's causing the police to come into our communities and treat us like we're all criminals. But we don't, or we refuse to acknowledge this problem. And we refuse to acknowledge it as a fact. Because we have, like I said, enablers, front groups, non-profits, and false prophets. I'll talk about the false prophets in the separate video. All of these groups are looking to profit off the weak and the vulnerable, like Caesar profited off of Rome for his own self-interest. The overly religious, the politician, the gangster, and the activist exploit the poor and downtrodden. This is Machiavellian 101. The idea of exploitation for your own self-serving needs. And every last one of them are self-serving. Self-serving and self-righteous. This is how people like a Benjamin Crump, like a Messy Jesse Jackson, and an Al Sharpton come to power. The race hustlers. The exploitation of black and brown people in America to keep them poor and destitute for their own self-serving needs. Because if black people and people alike started taking power into their own hands, they won't need these people around. But because we need advocates, people like Patrice Colliers and all these other fucking want to come into the neighborhood and protest and do shit for us, but then we don't benefit any type of we don't get any type of benefit from these people, but they come into our communities and they exploit us, and then they leave and act like we don't exist. You know, after Dr. King died, unfortunately, this is what we were left with. You know, you think about when Dr. King died, what this country was truly left with. You know, in the 70s, they had the gangsters making profit off of, weak And the thing is, we glamorize these people. We glamorize the Frank Lucas. We glamorize the Nicky Barnes. We glamorize drug dealers in our community. A Guy Fisher. A Fat Cat Lorenzo Nichols. A Freeway Rick Ross. That's what's so problematic. That's the issue. Because after 1968, who were the people taking care of the neighborhoods? Who were the people taking care of the people? The drug dealers. And our kids and our children still look up to these fucking people. We glamorize them. We put them in movies. We made movies off of them. We made American Gangster. We make shows like Snowfall. But then ultimately, while we're watching this shit, our neighborhoods are still left in ruin. Cognitive dissonance. You're sitting at home watching Snowfall. You're sitting at home watching American Gangster. But then, look at what the trail of issues you're being left with. You got a movie glorifying a so-called Robin Hood. You watch The Godfather of Harlem. You watch all these fucking movies about, the fact that you're glamorizing people who have done nothing good for these communities except destroy and take whatever resources that they wanted for themselves and left everybody else at the bottom destitute and poor and hanging on to life. Black people could have kept Harlem. They could have kept Harlem. They could have had Harlem. But while everybody in Harlem was selling drugs and doing drugs, you lost your equity right from under you. Because when the Clintons came in, they took it. And then the white people wanted uptown again. While you were glamorizing and glorifying crack dealers and drug dealers. Cognitive dissonance. Again, you don't want to address the issue. You just want to address the outside problem. You can't blame Whitey for this shit. This is all on you. This is all on the baby boomers. This is all on you. This is what you left us with. Dr. King died. We was left with nothing but gangsters and preachers and punk ass preachers and white politicians coming into the neighborhoods. People like Jimmy Carter and Ronald Reagan coming to the Bronx and shit like that, and then going back home and not promising you shit. Cognitive dissonance. You're looking for a savior outside of your own neighborhoods when you could be your own fucking saviors. They all promised you shit. They all promised you the American dream. But they only just let a few of us in that door as a token. You wanted affirmative action? You got it. That's why we got Obama. That's why we got Reginald F. Lewis. That's why we got all these people. White people want to be less racist by tokenism and affirmative action, as opposed to giving us what we truly need, which was equity and empowerment. You signed off the future that you left to our kids for this bullshit. They only let a few of us at the top to say that, well, this is true progress. But that's the whole thing about capitalism. They only let a few of us in as a buffer. And the society is just predicated on keeping certain groups of us at the bottom to satisfy the top, to say that the top was doing more for us than the bottom. And that's why we got the situation that we have right now. Race and class in this country go hand in hand because they go hand in hand in this nation and what we had the last 50 years. And what have these 50 years been about? These last 50 years since 1968 have been nothing but buffer zones and buzzwords like black middle class and reparations and equality. But do you really think they're going to give us this shit? Do you really think that these mindsets that you have, that somebody else is going to rescue you? They're not. Get out of your Pollyanna mindset for a minute and get into reality. Black people and Puerto Ricans, black and brown people in this country have been nothing more than fucking puppets to the establishment. You're nothing more than a puppet. You're nothing more than a puppet in a dominant white society. And that's never going to fucking change. Because we think we're owed something. And the reality is no one owes you shit for what happened the last 400 years. You need to get to that fucking reality right now. They're not going to give you no fucking reparations. It's not going to happen. And I don't care what fucking racial group got reparations, whether the Japanese got reparations or whether the fucking Native Americans got reparations. The point of it all is you're not getting any fucking reparations. So you're not getting it. It's over. Get over it and move the fuck on. But I'm going to ask you this. What are you willing to give each other? What are you willing to give yourself that somebody else out there isn't willing to give you? And that's one of the issues. Do we treat each other with the same amount of respect? Do we ride for each other? No, we don't. We don't do that shit. Not in our own community. Maybe 50 or 60 years ago we used to do that shit because the reality was back then all we had was each other. Because when we had Jim Crow, everybody had no choice but to look out for each other. And that's the fucking problem. When the pressure is off, you take your foot off the gas. Not going to say any more about that. But it's a fact. One of the issues is cognitive dissonance. And we got to fix that shit. The next thing is the issue of being overly religious. The biggest issue we have in our community is the black church. Blacks have too much preoccupation with religion. And it doesn't offer any type of fucking solution to our problems. Now, I don't care what religion you are, but some things might happen and then some things won't. But religion and running the preachers at these churches isn't going to solve the murder problem in Baltimore. There isn't going to be a Pastor Jamal Bryant to save your ass. There isn't going to be a temple. There isn't going to be a fucking Huber Memorial to save your black ass. We got all these fucking churches all around Baltimore. How many fucking churches have I seen on the west side? Every time I go on the west side, or every time I go to East Baltimore, it's like 20 fucking churches in one fucking block. It'd be one fucking church sitting next to a fucking liquor store. How stupid is that? You got all that commercial space you could have brought. And out of all that fucking commercial space and that commercial real estate, what do you put there? Next to a fucking liquor store, a goddamn church. Stupid shit. Every day in Baltimore. You go on Kirk Avenue, you go on Gorsuch Street. What do you see? You see fucking churches. Up and down. Every fucking where. Offering nothing but hope. You don't see a fucking grocery store in these neighborhoods. You go on Kirk Avenue and you go on Gorsuch, you see what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm talking to my Baltimore people right now. Because there's every fucking excuse out of the book. Every day. In this city. And I'm tired. Stupid is what stupid does. And religion ain't one of them. And then what do we allow in our churches? Fucking white politicians. And these stupid politicians in our city that say they're gonna change shit. That say they're gonna do shit and don't ever do it. Promise you the moon and the stars. And then when they get in City Hall, they talking in semantics. They can't do this because the city budget doesn't fix this. We can't fix this because there's still an issue with that. And, now what's the fucking issue? They got every fucking problem at City Hall. Every fucking excuse. You could easily solve the murder problem. But see, we offering up fucking excuses every day to these people. And then while they're making money, our children are dying on these streets. And there's no fucking urgency in anybody. And that's one of the biggest issues that I have. And then you got all this, if it's not over religious people, then you got material consumption, or the fact that we buy shit and consume shit outside of our neighborhoods because we think it's a good thing. We are the only group of people in this country that consume more than the annual gross domestic product. That means, in layman's terms, we spend more than we fucking produce. We don't produce anything. We don't create businesses. We don't generate revenue. You don't invest your money, but you're asking for Whitey. You're asking for Whitey's money. Why is that? Why are you looking for the same person that put you in chains and whipped you, why are you asking him to come save you? That's an issue. We the only group that spend more money than we generate. And I know I've heard this myth going around, the myth of black buying power. That's besides the point. Whatever money that you got, you need to invest it. You need to save it. Or you need to use that money for self-improvement. We the only group of people that buy expensive cars, jewelry, and designer clothes and things that most rich people can afford. And then we walk around flashing that shit. And then we wonder why somebody done killed us and then took what we had and stolen what we had. Biggest issue in the world. I can't understand it at all. Why you would spend your money on material shit because you grew up not having it. But sometimes the things that you buy, you only trying to impress the next fucking person. And then the next fucking person gets jealous and then they want to steal it from you. And that's what creates killing and murder in this city. All because somebody wanted somebody's Air Force Ones or AM1s or Jordans or fucking starter jackets or Parasuco jackets and shit like that. And we killing each other left and right for stupid shit. Jewelry, Jesus pieces. All that bullshit. And then if it ain't that, if we ain't spending fucking money on shit, we ain't spending money and reinvesting in our neighborhood, then there's the parents. Because I want to talk to the parents first, because I think that there needs to be something said about a lot of these dumbass parents out here. Because if there's anybody that's driving up the crime rate, it's you. And I'm gonna tell you, I don't care who you are. I don't care whether you brought your kids clothes or brought your kids nice things, or you're taking care of your child. I'm just gonna say it out loud. You're a shitty fucking parent. All of you are shitty fucking parents. Because you decided in your little fucking brains of yours to have kids in Baltimore. You decided to lay down with a motherfucker with no birth control and no condom and have a whole bunch of fucking babies in a city you know is a fucking war zone. And then you want to complain, and then you want to get mad, and then the mamas want to get fucking mad and shit and say, oh, I hate this little motherfucking kid, and oh, I'm tired of feeding this little motherfucker, and all the time you hear all these women, and I'm not talking about a race of women in particular, because it happens in every fucking community, but you know what type of bitch I'm talking about. The one that got 4 or 5 kids out of wedlock. Can't afford baby formula. Can't afford diapers. Always got their hand out talking about somebody need to take care of these kids and shit. And then when you get frustrated with them, and when you get angry at them, what do? Then you want to fucking abuse them. But you the main one who had the fucking baby in the first place. You the main one that had the baby in the first place. But see, you don't even want to accept that type of fucking responsibility. You want everybody to coddle you. You want everybody to fucking say, "Oh, good job, girl. I couldn't do it." Oh. But yet, you couldn't stop at one. You had to have 5, 6, 8 fucking kids. And it's ridiculous. And you know what's so funny? Is that when you have boys, and it's crazy because I've seen this so many times in my community. You want to have fucking boys. You want to kick the boys out at 18. See, we don't talk about that shit. You want to kick the boys out at 18. But you don't kick them fast ass girls out at 18 and have kids out of wedlock. They get to stay home and live in a house with the other women and the other girls and have babies. But they don't kick that girl out the house, but they kick the little nigga that's got his shit together out the house, right? Y'all kick that nigga out the house. But that, common hypocrisy. Y'all kick him out the house, even though he went to school, got his education, did the right things, graduated. They say, oh, after 18, you out. You sit up there, you work them bum ass jobs. Sit up there, do hair out your house and shit. Think that's getting you somewhere. Think it's getting your kids somewhere. Oh, I just, yeah. Who cares? Who cares you do hair at Fortis Institute? Cause I know what the fuck y'all do. I know what the fuck y'all do. Y'all have 5, 6, 8 kids, and then y'all become hair technicians and fucking RNs at hospitals. There's more fucking RNs with 8 kids in Baltimore than there is anywhere else. You know the RNs I'm talking about. All these registered nurses. It's more registered nurses that strip too. And that's what's so fucking ridiculous. You want to have kids, you want to have babies out of wedlock and then raise them in bad situations. And you know how bad Baltimore was. And you know how bad Baltimore is. But instead of you getting out of here, you was looking for a guy to make you happy. You was looking for love. And I get that. I get people look for love. That's cool. But that don't mean hop from one guy to the next and doing it 5 times. You ain't learned from your first mistake. So now you gotta have 5 additional ones. One mistake I can understand, but 5 fucking mistakes? That's too much. That's just stupidity now. And then you want to push your kids out there and make them go work at fucking Family Dollar and all these stupid ass places, work at Target, pushing carts for the rest of their life. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. You need to hang your head in shame right now. Cause you're stupid. All of y'all stupid. Y'all some stupid ass motherfuckers. And ain't nobody had the sense and decency to tell you that. But see, I'm the one that's telling you that because there needs to be a line drawn. You're the one that's the culprit to creating the fucking crime in Baltimore City. You and your fucking degeneracy. That's what's problematic. That's what's an issue. But see, you don't want to hear the truth. You don't want to accept some type of culpability for your actions. But you want to blame people like me. You want to make me responsible for it. For what? For speaking out against it? You're the culprit in this shit. That's why Baltimore has 300 murders. Because these little bastards out here are shooting each other and stealing and robbing and hurting other innocent people. Your kids are squeegee boys because you had them out of wedlock. Your kid wouldn't be out here fucking having the squeegee a fucking car every fucking day if you had a sense enough to get a fucking insurance policy. But see, you dumbass motherfuckers don't know about fucking insurance policies. Stupid is what stupid does. Grow the fuck up. Then if it ain't that issue, then you got this surviving versus thriving mentality. One of the biggest issues, but I'm going to talk about that in a separate video. Because something needs to be said. Something has to happen. We cannot keep putting the mindset in our children that the only mode to life is to work a 9 to 5 and just get by. All these people, they work at these retail gigs, they work at retail stores, but we know how they've been treated. We know how somebody gets treated at Target. We know how somebody gets treated at Walmart. But see, we got folks in our community that work those types of jobs because they think that's the only way to scrape on by. There are no opportunities in Baltimore. But you had plenty of opportunities and plenty of time to get away from that shit. And that's what's so problematic. Choices. You choose to keep a job that pays minimum wage. You choose to not want to get out of the situations that you put yourself in. So then you put yourself in a bad situation. You have all these kids, and then your kids grow up, and then you got to tell them, I don't have any money for college. You got to make a way on your own. And then they got to go work at Target for the rest of their life. They got to go work at these Family Dollars for the rest of their life. Because of you. Because of you put them in that position. And the older generation thinks they don't bear any type of responsibility for this shit. Oh, I worked 30 years. I got my pensions. I got my social securities. I took care of my kids. You ain't take care of your kids. You selfish ass motherfucker. You didn't take care of your kids because if you took care of your kids, you would have brought them an insurance policy. You would have made sure they was taken care of. You would have took out a policy on yourself just in case anything happened to you so they could be taken care of. But you didn't do that. You didn't create an estate. You didn't create a trust fund. You didn't do any of that. What you do? You spend money on expensive clothes and shaking your ass down at fucking Hammer Jacks and fucking Club Choices. That's what the fuck you did. That's what the fuck all y'all did. I mean, half of y'all old ass motherfuckers in the 90s, you know where you went. You put your kids down grandma's house or your grandmother's house, and then went off to the club to shake your ass at Hammer Jacks. And while you spending all that fucking money in the 90s, what were we doing? We were in school trying to get an education, trying to prepare for the fucking future. And then look at what the fucking future done left us with. Nothing. Not a penny in sight. But you want to blame us. You want to put the onus of the choices that you made in life on us. And I'm telling you, cut the bullshit out. Because I ain't had shit to do with that. That was a choice that you made. Not me. Not your kids. Then there's all this selfish mindset and this selfish mentality. Then you're out here abusing your children, beating your kids, thinking that beating your kids is the only way to get them successful. And I know a lot of old folks gonna look at me like, oh, he crazy. You're fucking crazy. All of you are fucking crazy. Because you're fucking selfish. You got a pension, don't you? Don't you, you fucking bitch? Don't you got a fucking pension? Don't you got a fucking social security? We won't have that. None of our kids' will have that. We won't inherit that shit. Because it won't roll down to us. That's your fault. And then if you don't do that, then you gotta whoop our asses. And what's that all about? Putting fear in us. Putting the fear of obedience in us. Trying to whoop us for being confident. Whoop us for everything. Cause your ass had a bad day at fucking work. What's that all about? I'm talking to you, parent. I'm talking to you. You're the one that's creating this shit. You've created a cycle. You've unleashed the devil on Baltimore. You've unleashed the devil on Baltimore. That's why Baltimore will always be a failing city. Because the families are broken. Everybody is broken in this situation. And that's what's so problematic. We abuse our children. We tell our children we ain't shit. They ain't shit. We erode their confidence. And then we put them in a school system that doesn't even prepare them for shit. The teachers don't give a fuck. And at the end of the day, who really cares for these kids? Because at the end of the day, I have to inherit whatever the fuck you put out. So now I have to deal with them. We gotta change our mentality on shit. We have to change this getting by mentality because it's not helping any of our children to survive. And they can't merely survive, they have to thrive. They have to be successful. But we don't want our kids to be successful. We want to keep them chained to these neighborhoods. We want to keep them chained to these conditions. We want to keep them chained to the realities of what Baltimore is. And you know that Baltimore is a bad fucking city. Ain't no good coming out of Baltimore. When's the last time ain't good came out of Baltimore? I mean, what was really left? Last two people that came out of Baltimore was what? Monique and Reginald F. Lewis. Nothing more came out of Baltimore. Nobody is successful in this city. And that's a fact. But you don't want to acknowledge that. You don't want to acknowledge how bad the city has gotten since the 90s. And the 90s was the high point for Baltimore. But you don't want to acknowledge that shit. And that's what's so problematic. And then there's the issue of re-victimization and mental illness that we rarely don't talk about. No. You can't pray it away. I'm sorry. You can't pray away depression. You can't pray away bipolar, schizophrenia, or anxieties. You can't pray it away. We don't want to acknowledge that we have mental illness in our community. We don't want to acknowledge that. We don't want to acknowledge that some of us have PTSD. We don't want to acknowledge that in some ways, everywhere we go, we think we hear gunshots. Or the fact that we gotta play the game gunshots or fireworks every fucking summer. We can't tell the difference between a gunshot and some firecrackers going off in our neighborhoods. That's what's so troubling about this shit. We're creating a cycle of trauma in our communities. We're creating this cycle of re-victimization because we're playing out the same traumas on our children, and we're passing it down to each other, because at the end of the day, we haven't done much to heal ourselves before we brought children into this world. And then you bring children into the midst of this mess, and then they have to grow up feeling like they're in a war zone. Who the hell would have kids in Baltimore? I wouldn't have kids in Baltimore ever. I just wouldn't. But you, on the other hand, since you're selfish and self-centered, you decided to have kids in Baltimore. And you decided, this is what my life is all about. This is life, that's life. No, that's not the way life is supposed to be. We can't keep doing this every fucking day. Ducking down because we think somebody going to shoot. Standing on street corners hoping we don't get shot. Standing at liquor stores hoping they don't get stuck up. Rolling through Green Mountain, all these other places. Rolling through Johnson Square and thinking shit's not gonna pop off. But in reality, that's the way it is. But you see, the thing about it is we keep replaying this drama every day in Baltimore because we keep living it out, and then we keep replaying it in the media. We keep replaying The Wire in our fucking minds. And that's what's so troubling about this. About the psychology of people in Baltimore. We keep replaying the victim mentality. And it's our mental illness and our mental dysfunctions that keep us completely devoid of any type of healing. And then we don't want to speak on those issues. We don't want to speak on domestic violence in our communities. We don't want to speak on sexual abuse in our communities that go on and that we allow to go on because our families allow it to go on. And then if it ain't that, it's the over-sexualization of our communities. The need to always be up under somebody, to have sex, to want to be up under a certain person to feel happy. And it's because of that, because we don't know how to properly function in relationships, we don't know how to treat each other. That's one of the reasons why we have so many dysfunctional relationships in Baltimore. Because a lot of people here from my generation didn't grow up in functional environments where they saw a mother and a father love each other. And I know a lot of people like that. And it's all that over-sexualization that has led to the birth of all these kids in the last 15 to 17 years. And it's one of the reasons why we have the dysfunction that we have right now in this city. Because we keep bringing out of wedlock situations, not valuing marriage and the idea of a mother and a father in a household. So these young kids, they gotta look to the streets to find some type of leadership, and then they ultimately end up dead in the long run. Mainly because we don't fucking talk about it. And then we all got bad eating habits, poor eating habits. We don't know how to properly eat. We don't know how to take care of our bodies properly. Put salt, pork, fried foods. We put all of that into our bodies. And then we wonder why we have diabetes and glaucoma and all these other ailing health issues like heart disease and all this other shit. And that's what's so problematic. Black folks in America, we have the worst eating habits known to man. And we consume large amounts of it. You know, some of y'all grew up on Hugs, sugar water, go to the corner store, get some wrapped chips, crab chips. Our communities are left destitute because we don't have any grocery stores. But it could have been easier to start a grocery store and to get produce in these communities. But we don't have it. Because nobody didn't think to start decent community grocery stores. We had plenty of grocery stores back then. And you remember. You remember Food King. You remember Stop, Shop, and Save. Super Pride. Oranges and Apples. And they all went out of business. These were black grocery stores. These were black business owners. And they all fucking went out of business. Why? Because we didn't shop there. We didn't do our best to keep these places opened. And then it's the violence. How many times I gotta talk about the violence in this city? How many times do I have to talk about the violence in Baltimore that has been predominantly committed by one of us? Because we don't know how to settle disputes without being violent. I don't need to explain my reasoning on this one. You can make all the excuses you want. But the truth is, and you have to accept it as the cardinal truth, is we are the most violent group of people in our community. We commit the most crime in this city. And that's black people in Baltimore in general. We commit crimes. That's a fact. You gotta stop looking for scapegoats. You gotta stop looking for someone to blame, because this is all on us. Stop using Whitey as the scapegoat, because this isn't a white versus black issue. This is purely a black issue that could have stopped a long time ago, but we chose not to address it. And finally, the last harmful mindset that I want to talk about is this over dependence on white social systems as opposed to building our own social systems that will sustain us as a group of people. This issue has impacted the black community for the last 50 years, and I don't think I've said it enough. We have to do better. We have to be better, and we have to build an economic system in which is completely independent of white society. We've been talking about this since the 60s, but yet for some odd reason something isn't registering with you, and I know it isn't. "60 years ago, there was a need to integrate. There was a need to integrate into white society. I could understand it because white people at that time, they had the resources. I could understand that from that standpoint. But what is the price that we're ultimately paying? You have Jews, Italians, and Hispanics and Asian people that have created their own source of group economics. That's why you have a Chinatown in every neighborhood. That's why you have a Little Italy in every neighborhood in these American cities on the East Coast. A little El Salvador, a little Mexico, a little Havana, because the people there stick together. The people in Washington Heights, Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, they stick together. They learn how to stick together. Why is it that we can't do the same exact thing, knowing the shit that we've actually been through? Why isn't there a little Senegal or little Nigeria in every neighborhood? You don't see that. You still got a blame whitey mentality. You look at the last 25 years. Look at the last 25 years of everything. So maybe starting all the way back to 1996. Or better yet, maybe 1995, when we had the Million Man March. When you came back from the Million Man March, did you say you wanted to start your own business? Did you say you wanted to create group economics? That was the whole purpose of why Minister Farrakhan gave the Million Man March, because he wanted black men to take back their power. But of course, we didn't do that. We didn't do that. We put all of our money into hip hop. And if you think about hip hop, you think about that was the only thing that we could take credit for that we've invented that has become a multi-million-dollar industry, or a multi-billion-dollar industry. And out of all of that, who's reaping the benefit from it? Who's reaping the benefit from basketball and football? Because I know one thing, we haven't reaped a damn benefit from it. Not one of us. The only people, and I'm going to tell you straight up, the only people who reap the benefit from the things that we bring to the table culturally, the only people that reap the benefit are the people whose last names start with a Cohen, Berg, or Katz. Those are the only types of people that reap a benefit from us. A Cohen, a Berg, and a Katz. And a Stein. Or a Steen. And you know who I'm talking about. And you know what this is all about. We don't reap a benefit from the things that we create. We don't reap a benefit from things that we have done. Because our mindsets are all screwed up. We don't know how to pick and choose our battles properly. And that's why we got the situations that we have right now. That's why we are constantly in a cycle of poverty. There shouldn't even be a situation where we're glorifying the ghetto and ghetto mentality and ghetto life. Or the fact that all of our rap songs talk about us living in the hood. Another generation living in the hood. We've had almost 50 years of rap music and hip hop. Why is it that at one point we said that we're not going to allow our kids to live the way that we did? That they're going to have a better outcome in life than what we had. But we don't have that. We have a whole nother generation of kids stuck in poverty. A situation that we created for them because we didn't think about starting businesses or starting investments and creating some type of economic wealth or group wealth to pass down to them. It's funny, you want what the white man has, and you get angry when the white man doesn't share that with you, but yet you won't even give your kids a chance to even be successful. And that's what's so problematic. That's the end of my rant. Now, if you like it, share and subscribe. And remember to always keep fighting indoctrination. I'm out.